Today we're going to change a valve body on a 4R70W transmission. We've got our 090 tip straight snap ring pliers, a 3/8 impact wrench, a scribe, a pocket screwdriver, a click type torque wrench inch-pound, 10mm socket, an 8mm socket, a 21mm wrench, a speed handle, and a large screwdriver. We're going to start by removing the filter with a large screwdriver. We just pry this underneath here, pry that out. Make sure the seal's on the filter, or else you'll have to chase that back out of the valve body. Remove the electrical connector, take the large screwdriver, just pry up underneath of all of the 4 connectors. Pull that right off there. Notice the location of the manual valve. The pin from the lever goes right into the last bore on that valve. We're going to start removing the valve body bolts. All of the 8mm head bolts can come out. Cut. Once we've got all the bolts out, we'll notice we have 2 brackets. We have this bracket, which is for the rooster comb, and we have this bracket, which holds the pressure control solenoid. Once all the brackets and bolts are out, we can lift the valve body right off of here. If it gives any resistance, it's because there's still another bolt in it. When you're dropping this from overhead, I recommend leaving 1 bolt loose to prevent it from falling. Now, you'll notice there's a filter right here. This is where this belongs. Now we're going to change our accumulators using the snap ring pliers. Push down real hard on that 1-2 accumulator cap. Get them snap ring pliers in there. Remove that snap ring. Pull everything out of there. You can discard those stock springs. You're not going to be using them. We're going to be putting the brown spring in there first. It's supplied in your kit. Put that cap right back in there. Do clean it and lubricate it first. I've already done it in this case. For the top spring on that 1-2 accumulator, we're going to take the stock spring out of the direct accumulator and put it right there in that. While we're here at the direct accumulator, let's go ahead and change that piston. Pull that stock one out. We're not going to use that at all. We're going to replace it with this 4-seal aftermarket design. It's a little bit taller, prevents the chance of failure, got better seals on it. Lubricate it real well before you put it in there. Make sure it goes all the way down to the bottom of that bore. Then you can just put that cap back on. If you're doing this upside down and that cap won't stay, you can bend these tabs right here out just a little bit to make it stay in the bore. Make sure when you get that down there that all the ledges are seated real well. All the way down there. Make sure it's not cocked at all as this is. It's really easy to get it wrong. Take your time. There we go. All the way down in that bore exactly as it should be. Now for the 1-2, we've already got the spring in place. We can put this cap back on. Push down real hard with your thumb. Make sure that snap ring's all the way down. Since we're really concerned with doing a really good job here, we want to check the pressure control solenoid. They're very prone to wearing on these transmissions. First, we'll remove the range sensor here on the sides, also known as a manual lever position sensor. Take a pair of side cuts, pull the little roll pin there that's in the lever. Now to get the nut loose, put a large screwdriver in there to use it to hold that, and then crack that nut loose. Keep it from bending or breaking anything. Take that nut the rest of the way out. Go ahead and pull your lever out and your park pawl rod. Now we've got our pressure control solenoid out. You'll see the picture, will show you the wear. Install our new pressure control solenoid. Easy as it came out, just slide it right in there. Put the park pawl rod back in place as it goes. Make sure it hits down in there where it goes. Lever goes right back in the same way. Make sure your orientation is up like it should have been, or if yours is something else, maybe it goes the other way. Once we've got that in there, tighten it up. Really easy, it's got a stop here for tightening it. We'll put our range sensor back on. Range sensor has alignment marks on it. You align those in neutral. You have to set the final alignment once you have the valve body all installed. Just go ahead and stick that on there. Put your roll pin back in place. Doesn't take much to knock that down. You just want it flush with the pan surface. Don't take it down too low that you can't get it back out if you need to. Go ahead and start them bolts in that range sensor just so it can't fall off. Just cut it. Now we need to change the separator plate. On the 96 through 2000 models, you'll find there's another plate here with 2 more bolts. You can put it on either way. These 2 plates, they only go on one way. We've got 9 bolts on this 01 through current model. We remove all 9 of these bolts, take these plates off. We'll clean everything really good. I've already cleaned this, but you'll need to clean yours. And remove that separator plate. When we put this back together, you can use the one supplied in your kit if your kit came that way. Remove your gasket. If you're using the original plate, make sure you take a razor blade and scrape it. It likes to stick around the holes right there. Take your original gasket off real well. Set that all to the side there. I like to check the pressure regulator valve on these transmissions. They're really bad for wearing. All you gotta do is pop this clip right here out, and it just starts coming out there. Just take a pocket screwdriver and just pop that thing forward. You move it enough, it'll come out of here. There went the spring, and now we have the valve. As you can see, this valve is showing a lot of wear. The new valve from Sonex, it's anodized, has some grooves in it to help lubricate it a little better. Just go ahead and lubricate everything when you put it together. I didn't want to do it for this because it makes a mess, but slide it all together. Make sure it goes all the way to the end. The valve also comes with a new spring in most of the kits. Put that in there. Most of the time this won't come out of there, but sometimes this reverse boost valve will come out. Just put that in there exactly like that. And put that right back in there. Put your clip back in. You just made a world of difference in the life of your transmission. Now that we've got everything cleaned, we're ready to reassemble. We found we had a few parts that came out when we turned that valve body over to clean it. The shuttle valve, this is for drain back. Goes right there in that hole, only hole it'll fit in. We've got a little screen. This is the odd one to find. It's right here in this hole, right here in this corner. Just slide that right down there. Now we have 8 check balls. Every passage in this valve body that can take a check ball gets a check ball. Real easy. Don't leave any out. Make sure you use all 8. They're all the same. Now that those are on there, put our new valve body gasket on there. Make sure everything's real good and clean. Go ahead and put our plate back on. As I said with these, they only go on one way. You cannot put them on wrong. Get these all started here. Don't forget about this bolt over here. We want to torque all of these to 120 inch-pounds using a good torque wrench. Now that we've got all our parts cleaned, we're ready to start putting the valve body back on. Make sure you put your new gasket on there. Just set that valve body right down in here. Pay attention to the manual valve. It's got to go exactly as it sits. Now you're going to find you've got two lengths of bolts and two brackets. The first bracket is the pressure control solenoid bracket. It slides right down into that pressure control solenoid. Sometimes you have to wiggle that solenoid around a little bit to get that in there. And it gets a long bolt on it. All of the bolts that go into this top plate are long bolts. All of the bolts that do not go into the top plate are the shorter bolts. This other bracket right here is for your rooster comb. And it goes right there. Now put all the bolts in, torque them down to 100 inch-pounds. Now that we've got all our bolts torqued, I recommend going over them bolts 2 or 3 times. Make sure you didn't miss one. We can go ahead and put our electrical connector back on. Be real careful with this. Make sure you look down on all of them. Make sure that the tabs are up in the connector where they belong. Everything's tight. You don't want to have to drop the pan back to reconnect this just because you didn't look at it good. Double, triple check it. Make sure it's all on there real good. Our filter we already checked to make sure we had the seal out of it. Got a new filter in the kit. We're going to go ahead and put that in there. Lube it up a little bit so it slides right in. Now we're ready to put the pan on. Only thing we have left to check is our manual lever. Best thing to do with that, put the transmission in park, pull it back to neutral, line up the marks on the lever. Run those bolts in all the way. Also torque those to 100 inch-pounds. You don't want to crush anything. Now once we've got our pan back on, we can put fluid back in it. I recommend starting with about 4 quarts, and it's ready to go. Enjoy your kit.